So we're reading from Bhagavatam, first canto, second chapter, text number 7. Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janatasya Vairagyam Jnanam Chayat Ahoitukam Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janasya Vairagyam Jnanam Chayat Chayitukam Ahaitukam. Translation: by rendering devotional service unto the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, one immediately acquires causeless knowledge and detachment from the world. Purport: or you have translators. How do I just go on like that? Okay, good. I like it. Those who consider those purport by Sri Prabhupada, those who consider devotional service to the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna to be something like material emotional affairs, may argue that in the revealed scriptures, sacrifice, charity, austerity, knowledge, mystic powers, and similar other processes of transcendental realization are recommended. According to them, bhakti or devotional service of the Lord is meant for those who cannot perform the high-grade activities. Generally, it is said that the bhakti cult is meant for the sudras, vaishyas, and less intelligent women class. But that is not the actual fact. The bhakti cult is the topmost of all transcendental activities, and therefore it is simultaneously sublime and easy. It is sublime for the pure devotees who are serious about getting in contact with the Supreme Lord. And it is easy for the neophytes who are just on the threshold of the house of Bhakti to achieve the contact of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sri Krishna is a great science, and it is open for all living beings, including sudras, vaishyas, women, and even those lower than the low-born sudras. So what to speak of the high-class men like the qualified brahmanas and the great self-realized kings? The other high-grade activities designated as sacrifice, charity, austerity, etc. are all corollary factors following the pure and scientific bhakti cult. The principles of knowledge and detachment are two important factors on the path of transcendental realization. The whole spiritual process leads to perfect knowledge of everything material and spiritual. And the results of such perfect knowledge are that one becomes detached from material affection and becomes attached to spiritual activities. Becoming detached from material things does not mean becoming inert altogether, as men with a poor fund of knowledge think. Naishkarma means that will produce good or bad effects. Negation does not mean negation of the positive. Negation of the negation of the non-essentials does not mean negation of the essentials. Similarly, detachment from material forms does not mean nullifying the positive form. The Bhakti cult meant for realization of the positive form. The Bhakti cult is meant for realization of the positive form. When the positive form is realized, the negative forms are automatically eliminated. Therefore, with the development of the Bhakti cult, with the application of positive service to the positive form, one naturally becomes detached from the inferior things, and he becomes attached to superior things. Similarly, the Bhakti cult, being the supermost occupation of the living being, lead him out of material sense enjoyment. That is the sign of a pure devotee. He is not a fool, nor is he engaged in inferior energies, nor does he have material values. This is not possible by dry reasoning. It actually happens by the grace of the Almighty. In conclusion, one who is a pure devotee has all other good qualities, namely knowledge, detachment, etc. But one who has only knowledge or detachment is not necessarily well acquainted with the principles of the Bhakti cult. Bhakti is the supermost occupation of the human being. That's the end of Srila Prabhupada's purport. Om Gyanatimirandasya Gyananjanashalakaya Chakshurudritam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. This is a very famous verse in ISKCON. Even the previous one also. The previous one, Savai Pumsam Parodamo Yato Bhakti Adopti. Ahoy Tukiyati Aprahita Yayako Samprasidati. The question was, what is or a process by which man can be satisfied? So the answer in the previous verse is that man can be satisfied only in devotional service to the transcendental Lord and oxygen. But such service has to be unmotivated and uninterrupted in order to completely satisfy ourselves. So today's verse says that it's a continuation of the same statement, that by rendering devotional service unto the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, one immediately acquires causeless knowledge and detachment from the world. So Bhagavatam is about detachment. it speaks straight about detachment. Why? Narasimha says, I don't say, Prithivil, what's called Prithivil, Yesha Bhutanam, Nivrittistu Mahapalam. That in this material world, generally the tendency is to think that happiness is on the path of pravritti marg, the path of enjoyment. Whereas the real happiness is on the path of detachment. So in a similar way, when people think about bhakti, they don't consider bhakti to be the real thing. They believe in performing austerities and in giving charity. This was suggested even to Maharaj Parikshit in the beginning. Everyone came and gave advice. Until Sukadeva Swami came and introduced him to bhakti, everything that was suggested, the king rejected. Like prayashtitam. Prayashtitam, the process of self-purification, was also suggested. And he said, no, that is like the bathing of the elephant. Why? Because after bathing, the elephant goes back into the mud, to the dust, and rolls in the dust. So all these activities are like Kunjara Suchavat, the bathing of the elephant. That's what Maharaj Parikshit realized. So that way, after hearing about Bhakti, in the end he said, thank you very much. Now I am free from fear. I have become Abhay. In the beginning he was fearful of what? Of being bitten by a snake. He was scared to be bitten by a snake. But after hearing Bhagavatam, he said, now let whatever magical thing that this Brahmana has created come and bite me once. Now I have become fearless. Yes. This is the process of Bhakti. That it makes you fearless of material existence. Let whatever happen, as long as I chant Hare Krishna, as long as I offer arti, I am fine. I am ready. So that's the difference. But all other processes, they keep you in fear. So that is explained in the Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains that in one of his books about this prayashchitam. His Bhaktivinoda Vine is quoted prayashchitam, the process of purifying oneself. So he explains that there are three ways of doing that. You can do prayashchitam through karma. You can do prayashchitam through the process of jnana. And you can do prayashchitam through bhakti. So those who do prayashchitam in karma, the example that is given is what is called chandrayana. In India, know what is chandrayana. Process of bhakti. Chandrayana is when you fast during the waning and the waxing of the moon. That's called chandrayana. So this process, Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains that it kind of like temporarily stops the reactions of our past sinful actions. But the desire to commit those activities remain. And the root cause of that desire, which is ignorance, remain. And then when we engage in prayashchitam, which is based on jnana, that involves what is called confession. So through confession, one can stop the reactions of his or her past karma. Or it may even remove the desire to commit such actions, which leads to bad karma. But the ignorance, which is the root cause of the desire, and the public actions remain. Why is that? Because this ignorance is due to our aversion towards the Lord. When the living entity decides to be his own master in the material world, when he removes himself from the shelter of the Lord, the first thing that happens is avaranatmika. Prabhupada explained avaranatmika, prakshipatmika. Meaning that the material energy covers his knowledge of his relationship with the Lord and pulls him down into material existence. That's why we say, Om Gyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Umitam Jena Tasmai, is to remind ourselves our conditioning, how we were born in ignorance. Like in the morning we sing Guru Mukha Padima Vakya Chitete Koriya Kya Arana Koriyo Mane Asha. I receive the words of instructions from my Guru and make them my life and soul. I become one. You see? Every morning we pray like that. Yeah. So in that way, because we are in a situation of agyana, or ignorance, so the Guru removes that ignorance with the torchlight of knowledge. So when our ignorance is removed, we begin to see reality. So that is why this verse says that through that knowledge, vairagya is automatic, and we develop transcendental knowledge. So this chapter is very, very important. So many nice purpose Prabhupada is giving, because it kind of like gave us step by step how the living entity rises from lower modes up to higher modes and up to the platform of transcendence. So in that way, Bhagavatam is more about vairagya, detachment, whereas the material world is about becoming attached to the exclusion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay, and then Bhakti explains that when you follow the prayastitam of Bhakti, he says that everything is removed. The desire to commit sinful activities is removed, and the ignorance also is removed, which is the cause of the desire. Why is that? Because in Bhakti, we engage in direct activities in connection with the Supreme Lord. He give an example like chanting of the holy name. That is a direct action that connects us with the Supreme Lord. So in that way, these activities of Bhakti, they kind of like remove all our ignorance, which is the cause of the desires in the heart. And those desires are material desires. The heart is said to be like a capital in this body. In the capital, whether it's Washington or Delhi, that's where the archives of that country are kept. Shariram Yad Abab Nopi. Bhagavad Gita chapter 15, verse number 8 explains that as the living entity leaves one body to the other, he carries his conceptions of the past to the next life. Vayu Gandha Ivashayat. Just like the air carries aroma. So life after life, the living entity is carrying his luggage with him. It's a long journey, and that stops when we surrender to a Guru. And then the Guru removes that ignorance, which is the cause of our continuous cycle in the material world. So that way, bhakti is practical. But one has to take the direction from self-realized souls, like Srila Prabhupada and others. And if you follow that process, even though he may not be qualified, he becomes qualified. Because the process works. It's just like when you go to a qualified doctor, even though you may not know something about medicine, if you follow the prescription, you can get the benefits of ingesting his medicine. You may not know how it works. You may not see how it is working. By the time you realize you'll be back to good life. Have you experienced it? Can we see how the injection works in the body? No. But you can tell by the symptoms. You feel your energy is coming back. You feel that everything is getting clear. And you are back to good life again. So in a similar way, the material world is a state of fever. It's a state where we are diseased. And this disease can be cured by the linking process of bhakti. That's what Bhagavatam says. What is this verse? Anartha Pashamam Shatra Bhakti Yoga Advoksaji Lokasya Satata becomes, something like that. It says that the problems, the miseries that we don't invite, which come automatically, superfluous, can be stopped by the linking process of bhakti. And therefore, the learned Vyasa have compiled this Bhagavatam, which is in relation to the Absolute. The next verse says, Yasham Vaishyamanayam Krishna Parama Purushe Bhakti Utpajyate Pumsaha Soha Moha Bhayapaha. He says that by hearing, listening to this transcendental literature, loving devotional service to Krishna will immediately sprout up to extinguish the fire. What is that fire? Soha, Moha, Bhayapaha. It's fire of lamentation and fire of illusion. So that way, this is devotional service. It's like a fire extinguisher. It extinguishes the fire of lamentation, fire of illusion, and fear. Bhayapaha. Bhaya means fear. So Maharaj Parikshit was also facing a very fearful situation. But by receiving devotional service of bhakti, or hearing about bhakti from Sukadev Swami, in the end he said, now I have become fearless. Let whatever magical thing that this Brahmana has created come and bite me. At once, I'm ready. So that's how bhakti extinguishes the fire of fear, the fire of lamentation, and the fire of illusion. So we will stop here and see if you have questions.
You mentioned the Bhagavatam as being about detachment, but my imperfect understanding is that detachment is a concomitant, automatic byproduct of attachment, intense attachment to Krishna. The Bhagavatam is all about attachment to Krishna. Could you clarify?
Okay, he says that I said Bhagavatam is about attachment. It's about detachment. Yes, it's about detachment to our material situation and becoming attached to Krishna. Yes, it's true. Maybe I didn't complete it. Yes, it is. But when you read Bhagavatam, then we found that give examples of so many people who were attached to the things of this world, and then they had problems, and then they came in contact with Bhakti, like Chitraketu. You get Chitraketu, he had a big kingdom, And he was married to so many millions of queens, but he could not have a child. And then finally, what Angira blessed him to have a child who was going to be a source of happiness and distress. And then when he went through that, he was given pure devotional service, he became blissful. So we got, that is that also becoming detached to our material situation and becoming attached to Krishna. Yes, I didn't really put it completely. Yes, it's true. It's not just about detachment, but it's about being detached to the things of this world and becoming attached to Krishna. Any other question or comment? Yes, Prabhu.
If our friends and family members are devotees,
Friends and family members are devotees, yes?
do we have to give up the affection towards them to become Krishna conscious?
Yes, if friends or our family members are devotees, should we?
We have to, it was mentioned in the purport that we have to give up this affection and then have attachment to Krishna.
Oh, yes. The purport says you have to give up our affection. Not just refers to material affection. If the family members are devotees, it's a different thing, they are devotees. We have to become attached to them and serve them, possibly as serving devotees. It's different, but what Prabhupada is referring to here is like material families who are not devotees. If the family members are devotees, serving them is serving service to the devotees. That is good. But if they are materialistic people, and then we have to become, anyway, we have to become attached to them, detached to them, yes. But not in a bad way. Some people may be materialistic because of circumstances. Yeah. Some people are good at cultivating family members. I'm not good at that. I just joined the temple and then that's it. But yeah, some people are good at cultivating family members who may be materialistic. There's a way of cultivating them. Like, for example, not for brahmacharis, for grihasthas. You can make a feast and invite them on Prabhupada's appearance days, and or go home on their birthdays and cook for them Krishna Prasad. In that way, they will become familiar with eating prasadam and eventually they will become devotees. Yeah, that also is there. That some people may not be spiritually inclined out of innocence, not because they are kind of like demons, they are envious of Krishna. They are just too lazy to make an effort. Yeah. So we can engage them in chanting the holy name on certain occasions. We can take the prasadam and the galan from the temple. For example, my sister, when I joined, I was not very young. I think when I moved to the temple, I was like 26, 27, I was working. But it was a surprise for her because he never thought I could do such a thing as becoming a Hare Krishna. Because I was working, I was in mining engineering office as a sampler. I was a young person with kind of like materially, maybe they saw me as a future, or someone who was in line with Maya. So then suddenly, I met devotees, I got a book called Science of Self-Realization. I never heard of such a book in my life. I read that book, I went to my office, I told my colleagues, I'm going to give up this job and becoming like this old man. He seemed to know the truth. I want to follow this on like Prabhupada. They thought I was joking. I left. I never told anyone in my family. One day my sister saw me, met me in the city. I was with devotees on Harina, wearing bed sheets, singing like a crazy man. What happened to you? So I was thinking how to explain this. I thought I was doing a good thing. I'm happy, but she thinks that I'm crazy. I said, okay, I'll come home. I'll explain to you. I never went home. And then, of course, she was working in government offices far away from home. We met after 10 years. And she got promoted to come to our city again. And she came back, and then she was more mature. She was more mature at the time. And then I invited her to our temple. She should have in Durban. It's like heaven. When you enter the temple, you are out of this material world. It's just amazing. She was kind of mesmerized by the whole thing. And then she said, it's good. I thought it was bad. It's very good what you're doing. Yeah, so in that way, some of them, slowly, they may become favorable if they see that what we are doing is good. We give up good prasadam. When they come, give them maha, galams. So when she came, because now she was coming as a sister to a Maharaj, she got a garland like this. She was so good. She felt like a princess. No one has ever given her a flower, fresh flower garland. This is very good. So that, so slowly, people who are not favorable. She said, before I was crying when my brother joined Harikrishna, but now I'm realizing it's good. It's nice. Yeah, so that way, some of our family members may be just not demons, but they are just lazy, spiritual. Yes. But by getting prasadam, getting mahagalan from the temple, they will become favorable. Thank you very much about that question. Any other question?
Продолжение вот этого вопроса. Как правильно привязываться к преданным? Потому что иногда мы можем видеть это там, не знаю, какой-то тонкий секс, ну, то есть ты просто подпитываешься человека. Иногда это протибимбана мабхас, то есть отражающего вкуса, поэтому ты привязываешься.
How to get attached to the devotees in the right way? Because how to get attached to the devotees in the right way?
How to become attached to devotees in the right way?
It's important. Yeah, because sometimes it's отражаем их вкус. Иногда мы просто наслаждаемся их общением.
Sometimes we just enjoy
Yes.
Иногда отражаем.
Не знаю.
Sometimes we enjoy it. We want to enjoy devotees.
Sometimes we enjoy the association with the devotees.
We enjoy the association. Yes. Devotees association is enjoyable, but the way towards connecting proper with devotees is through service. It's by rendering service to devotees. It's by serving them. And by serving them, we can attract their mercy. Actually, this is also good to get rid of our egos. Because if you are in bodily concept, you are concerned about your eating, sleeping, and all that. It's very difficult to serve other people. So this service to devotees also purifies us from our bodily concept, attachment to our own comfortability. Because when you stretch out, when you go out of your way to serve others, you forget yourself. Huh? Have you noticed that? It's like sometimes we want to eat ourselves, but when we serve devotees, we just feel happy that we don't even think about, feeding ourselves. I was a servant for many gurus for many years when I was a brahmachari. It's a very difficult service. Sometimes it can be 24 hours. You can be up in the morning, you have to be there for Mangalati. And then after Mangalati, you go and clean the rooms, you prepare things. There's no time for your own eating. There's no time for anything. You just get absorbed. And then when these devotees are meeting people at night, you can be there up to 12 o'clock. There's no time for your sleeping. But in the morning, you should be the first person to be up. For example, when you were serving a sannyasa or a guru and I joined, in the morning as a servant, you had to go to the room where he's staying. If he's not awake, and then you sing kirtan in front of the door, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Even if he's sleeping, you will hear your kirtan, and you know, oh, my servant is waking up. You don't knock at the door. You just sing the Mahamantra, and then he will hear. And then he will get up, turn on the light. When he turns on the light, you will know now he is up. He is up. If the light is not on, you keep on singing until you see the light on, and then you stop. And then you wait. So that takes humility. Nowadays, servants, they can't do it. There is one club called the Rotary Club. They do a lot of service to men and women. So they have one slogan that it says, service above self. Service above self. So that qualifies you to be a Rotary member. But unless if you rise above yourself, you can't really serve others. So that way, in old days, to be a servant was not easy. You had to forget your sleep, your eating, everything. You were the last person to sleep. So when the guru that you are serving is going to sleep, you wait there, he goes into the blanket, you come and massage his feet until he falls asleep. And then he will say, okay, now you can go. And then you go. If he didn't ask you to go and eat, you don't eat. You can fast. He will tell you, go and take prasadam. In the good old days. So it was difficult to be a brahmachari. So those brahmacharis who did that service, they got really, really fried. They ran straight to household life. Yeah, I just can't do it. Because as long as I'm a brahmachari, I may be asked to say sannyasis again. They quit. So in that way, I'm not saying that sannyas should come back. I'm just giving an example how difficult it is. How difficult it was. But those who tolerated, they survived. But it helps you to rise above yourself and be more for others. Okay, thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Prabhupada ki, Narasimha Bhagavatam ki.